morning. As I promised at the end of yesterday's video, I will show you how good of a job that 2660 VT is doing in the sunlight. Wow, that is completely different than what it looked like the other day when I ran it. Maybe that morning dew had more of an influence on the performance of the tillage than I had accounted for when I ran it the other day. To be fair, I'm not exactly a morning person either, so I can't blame it. Just take it in. Completely chopped and sized residue. We don't have chopping corn heads, and we still powdered these stalks up. I'm amazed. We actually may be able to plant into this next spring without working it. It's that good of a seed bed right now. The only thing that might cause issues, which is unlikely, are these corn root balls. They'll probably decompose quite a bit over the winter, but those do cause a pretty rough ride for the planter. Our new planter coming in does have hydraulic downforce, so it should be able to deal with that pretty good. All things considered, I think that Deere 2660 VT was well worth the money, and Kate, our tillage guy, is doing one heck of a job. I guess you should take back everything I said prematurely about the 2660 VT and its overpriced nature. Maybe money does buy happiness. Just kidding, it doesn't, but that sounded good. Money does buy John Deere equipment though. You need quite a bit of it with how they price everything. Doesn't have to be your money, could be the bankers. It's all the same, isn't it? Day 24 of consecutive harvesting, here we go. Never gonna make any money here if these are just lying around the field. There's the fleet. And Marty. Put you where you belong. One machine's warming up. Let's make that two. Plenty of oil in the 670. No surprise. I think I drew the short stick on this deal. I checked the oil in the combine. Dad checked the oil in my tractor. I would venture to say that it's a sit in place and warm up type of morning. For me and the tractor both. Some of that white Cobb's Pioneer corn. All it is just a genetic difference. There's no noticeable impact on the quality of the crop. Pioneer a lot of times has hybrids that have white Cobb's. What I'd like to do this morning is absolutely nothing. What I'm going to do is grease my grain cart. Okay, let's do this. Whew, I'm happy to be back inside. Of course, Dad in his combine's already breathing down my neck. He'd rather me try to catch him than grease the grain cart. That was probably 2 days overdue for that service. A couple of the trucks we loaded last night ended up going to the elevator this morning as opposed to filling our bin. So we're gonna change that in Libra cart and bam. Properly adjusted. Time to start loading trucks. Chris must be feeling chipper this morning, seeing as he's voluntarily standing behind the truck downwind of the corn fuzz, just getting blasted in the face. Whatever, it's his life, not mine. I don't know about all of you, I personally prefer the fall weather that's like 50 to 60 degrees. I can handle some overcast thrown in with that. However, this 25 to 30 degree lows in the morning and a very strong breeze daily is just no fun to be outside in after you've been spoiled by summer and the warm part of fall. For my personal safety, we're gonna go flag the tile hole that about ended us in the combine last night. There he is. A lot harder to miss when it's not surrounded by corn. That would have been a rough ride for me in the combine. There you go. This little pink flag should indicate to everyone that there's a massive hole right here. Where did all my coworkers go? Everyone just like left me here at the field. They showed up just when I went to run the S780. Katie's here. We're farming. Never mind, the drive over at the bin site is having issues, so we are gonna run the combine. I'm sure some of you recall me complaining about some of our logistical inefficiencies and our lack of full use of our combines, or at least in a very streamlined manner. I said $200 an hour for this 780 depreciation. I was wrong, $275. That is the sound of money just evaporating right in front of your eyes. If it's just gonna disappear, we might as well have some fun with it first. That was an uneventful amount of grain in the tank. Please no tile holes today. Please no tile holes today. Holy cow! That Pioneer 0953 is absolutely killing it out here. You can also see the noticeable improvement in moisture. That does help our yield a little bit just for the fact that we're gaining a couple percent more in weight, meaning we're getting more dry bushels because we're using an allocated moisture. Just trying to remember, beans are always standardized down to 13%. Corn is always 15%. Hello?
Are you at the north end?
Yeah.
Stay there.
Okay. Sounds like I'm getting fired again. We finished that field of corn. It made 241 dry. Katie just cab corned. I saw it. It's on camera.
So walk over and get the wagon.
I guess I'll bring the wagon to you. Did your thing not go off?
Literally just went off and I stopped immediately. Not like fast stop. I eased into a stop.
Back to the grain cart.
I need to move it down one hole.
It's hard to find good help. There's a pretty noticeable yield advantage to the Pioneer 0953 on that previous farm versus the DeKalb 6141. We wrapped the outside with the DeKalb, and I think a couple passes here, and you can see once you get off to the west just a tad bit, there is a drastic advantage to the Pioneer corn. I would probably guesstimate that it's 20 to 30 bushels, which is quite a bit for corn. To be completely fair, there are fields where DeKalb beats Pioneer. They go back and forth. We were also comparing a new Pioneer number, so brand new genetics, versus an older DeKalb number that we've been planting for 3 or 4 years now. That being said, maybe it's time to take the 6141 DeKalb behind the shed and give her the old yeller treatment. The funny thing about analyzing yield in fields just like that is that you could run the same exact scenario next year, plant it the same way, and get a little bit different weather, and the opposite could have happened. The DeKalb corn could have smoked the new Pioneer corn, but that's not the way the cards fell, and statistically speaking, the newer number should beat the older number. Combine crisis averted. We're back to harvesting. That year-to-year variability that I was talking about is actually the reason why a lot of farmers still to this day like to split their planters and have one hybrid on one side and one hybrid on the other. That way, if one of them is a flop, they won't lose the farm. Personally, I still know a ton of farmers who practice that methodology just for the fact that it makes them sleep better at night knowing not all of their eggs are in one basket. We'll say that seed companies in general have gotten a lot better within the last 20 years. Almost every modern hybrid is extremely competitive and within reason of its counterparts as long as you're planting newer genetics. I say that and we have a spotted down corn right there. A few companies did gather a reputation 20 to 30 years ago for producing a few hybrids that underperformed and laid over under a soft wind, namely Pioneer. Unfortunately for those seed companies, even after all this time, they've yet to live that reputation down. Speaking of down Pioneer corn, this is Pioneer 1359. This Pioneer 1359 is yielding well, but like you just saw, there are pockets out in this field that for some reason fell over. I think fell over is not the right terminology. It was pushed over by the wind. Marty's coming with lunch in hand to reclaim his combine. Looks like one of the combines messed up because we've got a row of shame. Cab corn, rows of shame. Where do we find these people at? This time it's Marty with the cab corn. Everything's been pretty smooth sailing so far today. Had to move the auger a couple hours ago, set to another 36-foot bin right to our south. Other than that, just marching right along with corn harvest. I found some hitchhikers on the interstate.
Lenny's always eating in your videos.
He is, isn't he? Well, that's because he's normally the one who brings lunch, so like it makes sense that he's always eating. You're always eating in my videos. Is that a bulldozer, Lenny? What are they doing? That nice bulldozer parked right over there is at our farm to take care of all of these abandoned oil wells, like this one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. Basically, when my dad purchased all of these farms around here about 40 years ago, The oil rights came with it, along with the oil wells that are out here. The problem was that all of the pre-existing oil wells had been completely abandoned. Not only had they been abandoned, they were left uncapped. An uncapped oil well cannot just be pulled out of the ground. It's technically against the law for us to dig it up and bend the pipe out, so that's why we have these obstructions across our fields, because these oil wells are still sticking up. Fortunately for us, the state of Illinois, in combination with the federal government, has some excess funds they're allocating to landowners to cap these oil wells that are abandoned. Because I guess they're probably not our property, but they're also no one else's property because the ownership for these oil wells is defunct. They don't exist anymore. So it's hard to really hold anyone accountable when there's no one. With the funds from the state of Illinois, we have about 8 oil wells on this farm right here that are getting capped. I believe there's one up there along the interstate. There's one by the combines there. Another 3 right here on the south part, and then a whole nother 3 on the big south field where the cell tower is and all the new tile we put in. It's actually pretty convenient for us as landowners that they have this program, because these wells are not cheap to cap. They have to dig them up, I think pour sand and concrete, and then close off the well itself. I believe the price tag's like $3,000, $4,000, maybe $5,000 a well. Let's say 5,000 times 8, that's $40,000 on this farm alone to cap wells that we've never made any money off of, nor do we plan to. For as long as I can remember, we have had the fun of farming around all of these old wells. Dad just radioed and said that there is 12 wells on this whole farm, including the 8 I've mentioned on this side of the road. The crew that's actually from Effingham County, maybe Jasper County, I'm not sure, down south a little bit where there's a lot more oil, they think it's going to take them about 2 weeks. Katie's on the last pass of this field. We're trying to decide how we want to handle fueling everything up. Everything doesn't include me because I've only used about a half a tank of fuel. Combines, those 780s about tap dry, no surprises there. And like Katie said, the 670's got a quarter of a tank. Meaning that there's not going to be much more harvesting done without some diesel fuel thrown in that big combine. Thankfully, we finally finished this field. It's always a slow grind. The oil wells that I mentioned are very inconvenient to farm around, as well as the rolling hills and terraces we have out here. Not really that great for unloading on the go, which, like I said many times, kills our efficiency. There's about 930 or 40 bushels on the cart. I doubt it's going to fit on the truck just for the simple fact that this corn's not very heavy. Probably some of the lightest corn I've loaded out all year. I mean, I'm struggling to get 900 bushels on a load. Oh, it's going to be close, ladies and gentlemen. Cutting her off. Not going to make it. That was a pretty stuff-full load. It's only 894 bushels. It says the field average right now is 230 dry, which for this rolling farm, not as productive as a lot of other farms. That's probably pretty good. That's a pretty nice dozer. Caterpillar D6N. Wonder if they're planning on digging some big holes. Knowing our operations luck, they'll probably dig up a bunch of tile lines out there and cause even more tile issues than what we already have on this south farm. The field that is being harvested now is at the bin site where we've been hauling to for the last couple of days. So we should get maximum efficiency. The maximum, as much as we're capable of. That's a pretty big pile of corn in there. 10 to 15,000 bushels maybe. You can see this is the farm we're opening up right now. Katie's running, Dad's at the fuel tank. Jeff's bringing in the last load off the other farm. The charming melody of the bin fans screaming and howling and screeching. Might as well help Jeff out. We're probably just going to keep this semi parked over the pit like this. I'm going to pull up alongside him with the grain cart because we're right next to this field. The old drive over is screeching a little bit. What if we got a bearing going out? This is our last bin here to fill the south 36-footer. To be honest, I thought we were actually on this one, but he went in a different order than I realized when I hadn't been to the bin site. That being said, should be done with this bin tonight. Combine's fueled up and greased. Offload what we have on the cart, that way we can start with a clean slate. Just Dad and I opening up the field this evening. Katie had to go run some kind of errand. I get over to the bin site to start dumping and see everything's in disarray. Katie's shown back up, she's fueling up her combine, but our bin crew is gone, which means it's quitting time. Welcome to day 25 of continuous harvesting action. The lack of rain has been both a blessing for productivity and a curse for the energy and well-being of our employees. Ironically, last year we probably would have begged to have conditions like this continuously so we could get our crop out. That's not what happened. We had breakdowns in mud. This year we've not had any breakdowns, nor have we had any mud, but we've just been running non-stop. I loaded this truck last night. As opposed to taking it to the bin, we're just going to take it to the elevator this morning. There's Jeff headed north. Looks like he chose to go to Coal Station. I'm gambling and going to Neoga. Neoga is not only an easier haul, but it's also a shorter haul, meaning that I should get back in less amount of time. However, for the last 2 seasons down here during harvest, this elevator is a complete zoo, and you get bottlenecked down here with all the trucks. Off to a great start. The line is not even moving right now for no reason at all. Only took 15 minutes, but we finally made it to dump. Better than I was expecting. This isn't exactly the best start for Neoga this morning, so I doubt we'll bring any more down here. Made it back on the road, headed to the farm. I'm glad I got there when I did, because if I had gotten there 5 to 10 minutes later, I would have been in a line of trucks 10 deep just to weigh into the scales. The elevator is just a mess, and it's so hard to take your bushels to the convenient location when they're not logistically sound down there. You gotta be able to move trucks. Combines do not want to sit at the field. Truck drivers don't want to sit there waiting on other people. Here's our stop. The combines are probably going to start picking soon, so I'm going to go ahead and dump what I have on the cart from last night. This harvest is like Hotel California. You can come, but you can never leave. Here's a bad start to the morning. We've already made a mess. You'd almost think today was a Monday. It's not. It's Thursday. I have found one thing about this 8R tractor that I extremely dislike, and that's that the PTO disengages if you get out of your seat. There is this workaround right here called PTO remote, which says it'll remain engaged if the operator gets out of the seat. Even so, it's terribly inconvenient, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if someone's gonna do something sketchy I can tell you that a seat lever or activation is not going to be the thing that prevents that. If they want to get out and play around on the PTO when it's running, they're going to do it anyways. I'm thinking about it more from a lens of next planting season, where this tractor will have a generator on the PTO shaft. So every time I get out, that generator will probably shut off, requiring me to hit the buttons again, get everything going, recycle everything, which seems annoying as it currently stands. Our bin is getting close to 19,000 bushels on it, meaning that if we don't want to overfill it, we need to keep a pretty keen eye on it moving forward. Another day of catching the combines. This would be a lot easier if we had one of those big, like 800 bushel gravity wagons. So then I could actually fit quite a bit without moving. Oh well, make do with what we got. Put us close to 21,000 in the bin, so we need to check it. Getting up there, but there's still a little bit more room. About a third of the way up the top ring, so maybe another 1,500 bushels will do it, which I've got about 1,000 on the cart now. I'd say the next full cart I bring back will top it off. This ought to finish it off right here. It's gonna have about 12 to 1,300 bushels on the cart.
Get a hair closer.
There's only 2 more bins to load after this one. The head honcho's supervising the last bit of grain going in. The boss just buttoned up the bin, meaning she's full. Chris, Jeff, and Dad are leaving with the auger and other bin filling equipment, moving about 5 miles to the west to set up to our last bin site. While they do that, I'm gonna run the S780. The grain cart's gonna need a real good bath after this season. This was not my doing. One of the seasoned combine operators is responsible for this. I don't think Deere could have made this combine hydrostat any more ergonomic if they tried. It is so functional, but also comfortable for your hand. Hey Katie, strange seeing you here. You want a race? This corn appears to be yielding extremely well. You see 274 dry, but on the last field it showed that it made about 260 and the corn made 230, so obviously it's getting kind of off its bearing. I think we're gonna have to dump the grain cart after this. Holy smokes, that's a lot of corn. I don't really know how I feel about this power line that's just looming right over me. One wrong move and I'm gonna be zapped. Wow, that's some heavy corn right there. This is convenient timing for me because now I have enough to load this 10-wheeler as well. Meanwhile, the S780 is sitting there running, depreciating at $275 an hour. That's expensive. If I recall correctly, the outside of this field, the end rows and a couple rounds on the south end, are a 110-day channel corn. The rest of the field is a Burris 113-day corn. And I think this is what's weighing like a bag of rocks. It's never a good idea to let the amateur open up some of the end rows on the field. It's not gonna matter anyways, I'm about full. If the trucks don't start moving soon, we're gonna be waiting. Just what the doctor ordered. Finished up another field.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, combine.
Bye-bye.
I'll give you a final yield report when I get that weight off of the cart onto the next truck, but that corn was really good. Katie's headed to the next field, and you can see Dad right on the other side, about a mile to the northwest. That's where we're headed. Standard procedure for us to always have a pickup truck at the field we're at, whether we need to run an errand or have an emergency, or in this case, need to check on a bin that's about full. I almost forgot that our drapers have just been parked here for 2 weeks. Surprised no one's tried to steal those yet. Now Katie will come back with me, take me to the cart, and she'll bring the truck back. It's not all gonna fit onto this truck, but we can guesstimate on the remainder for the field average. I manually added the rest of this weight onto the field so we could have the average 256 dry. Like I said, a little bit of channel corn, and the remainder of this field was Burris 6Y61 I believe of Bayer genetic origin, but it is their hybrid and performed very well. I do believe that both hybrids had extremely heavy test weight, so something went right out on this farm. Pretty good corn here.
I'd stick over to where the roads go north and south, or along with the interstate.
Marty was already waiting for me, cab corn and all. There's another field crossed off our list. It's getting shorter by the day. And to no surprise, I'm sitting here waiting on a truck before I can move. There's our truck. This farm was planted around the edges with Pioneer 1359, and the remainder of the field is DeKalb 6357. There you have it on LibreCart, 242 dry bushels per acre. Wish this pond wasn't so close to the interstate because it's magnificent. That pond right there, I kid you not, is as photogenic as they come. Now, it's not very good from an auditory standpoint because you have to listen to the semis and the cars flying down the interstate all day. To the next field of corn we go! This error code keeps popping up and it seems like something that may need to be addressed. This looks like our stop. So I've actually been getting air filter codes for the last couple days. I kind of figured it's just because I was pulling it really hard and it's getting choked out. But maybe that's not the case. An air filter right here. I'm gonna get it open. Holy smokes! Well, that'll do it. Whoa! Jeez! Yeah, needless to say, I probably should have cleaned that out a few days earlier. There's a lot of dust associated with harvest. All of them? Alrighty, you can breathe again. The field we're opening up now is entirely planted with channel 210, 110-day corn. I don't know the actual full number. Am I the only one bothered by how unstandardized seed nomenclature is across the industry? Everyone has a different way of naming their corn. They use different numbers up front, they use different letters for their traits, or they change the number of the corn. A Pioneer corn, you add 100 to the first two numbers. DeKalb corn, you add 50 to the first two numbers. Channel, you just take a 1 off the first three numbers and that gives you your maturity. I mean, it's just a mess. These are the kind of antics that make the filter look like it did. Following the combines closely, but I really don't have a choice because I need to get to the other combine. This is my kind of night right here. There's so many reflections in this cab. You can see everything from one spot. Okay, my feeble human eyes. They're failing me now. I don't believe that I can be held liable for any messes that occur after dark. Come on, combines, I've been gone for 5 minutes. It's hard being the grain cart operator for 2 combines in corn. Mark my words, one of these days, maybe not today or tomorrow or this week or this harvest, we will have a 12-row corn head on the big combine. The other one will just be retired to soybean duty. This is going to be the last truckload of the night and we're shutting down. That's the closing time shuffle right there, ladies and gentlemen. Kill the lights. There's Katie bringing in the back of the pack with a full hopper. As it currently stands, the farming operation is on pace for its quickest finish to harvest ever. That's great news, but man, oh man, has it been a grind getting there. I do really wish we could get a rain just for stock decomposition, some residue management purposes. It would be very helpful. And maybe part of me wants a tiny break. Tillage is going well. Our tillage got caved, like I've shown you multiple times, has been on our tail for the most part, lagging behind a little bit more on the corn stalks. That's okay though, because we're much farther ahead than we were last year at this time. As a matter of fact, some of you may remember that we didn't get a lot of our tillage done because of how wet the conditions turned off. And on the opposite side of the coin, you have this year. That's drier than a bone. Actually, the entire Midwest is in a pretty significant drought at this point, and it could have some serious implications moving forward. Regardless, that's definitely a topic for a different video. We're gonna end it here. 2 hard days of harvesting in a row. I greatly appreciate every single one of you continuing to tune in and support the channel. Your viewership means the world to me. Hope to see you all in the next episode. Until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!